Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of this series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
We're starting out on a down note.
Oh, why?
Well, because instead of going, welcome once again, you were like, welcome once again. So
I'm the FM radio voice. I remember I used to get yelled at when I would start it out with a lot of energy.
Yes.
And I've just never picked up the energy since.
Yes.
It's been
you might as well.
years.
You might as well just start off with like, hey, everyone who received the first smallpox vaccine in 1798 has died. Makes you think, doesn't it?
No, not really.
Not really. Well, what should we think about?
I don't do it.
We got reviews?
No, you said we're not doing reviews.
Yeah, because I didn't have time to really read anything.
What did you do on your day off yesterday?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I will talk about it as we get to the non-review part of the show.
We're not doing any reviews.
I know.
So the entire show is the non-review part of the show.
I know.
So talk about it.
Nah, I'm going to let you talk about it.
All right.
We can either talk about previews, or I could just say, hey, tell me everything you know about Jack Kirby, and I could just sit back for the next 12 hours and let it go.
Jack Kirby's birthday over the weekend.
Yep.
104 years young. And if you go to newsfromme.com, Mark Evanier's site, one of the things he talks about is that every week I learned something new. Did you know that he and Steve Sherman, when they were Kirby's assistants, never had a contract? He would just give them money.
Yep.
They never talked about how much they'd get paid. They never had a contract. It's just every so often he would give them money. Now, I don't know if I could do a job like that. Of course, they were still both living with their parents at the time, but I could not do that because I have bills, and because of those bills, I work on Sunday mornings. They've moved me to Sunday mornings.
Sunday.
Now they wanted me to start showing up at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I said that's absolutely not going to happen. I'm not going to be getting up at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday. It's bad enough I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning and leave at around 6. And I always stop to get my soda and a donut. And I have to tell you, Joe, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. No one is happy to be out of their house at 6 in the morning.
No, pretty much not.
The people at the gas station look bleary-eyed and tired. The people in the gas station, like me, either have a look of resentment on their face or they're kind of just shuffling through. The good thing is when I get to the group home, the clients like to sleep in on Sundays. They used to go to church. But ever since COVID, we couldn't take them to church. And now they're to the point where we'll ask, hey, 7 o'clock. Hey, do you guys want to get up? No. They don't get up till around 8 or 8:30. And that's perfectly fine. We have breakfast late. As long as they get their meds on time, it doesn't matter. There's one client who you'll ask and he'll just say no until noon. He will not get out of bed before noon. He'll take his meds. He's perfectly happy to stay in bed, though. And but I could not agree with him more.
Yeah.
But you know what showed up on Saturday?
I got nothing.
I got
nothing for me on Saturday.
I got Box Day.
That's because you're spoiled.
Yes, I am. Let's see. In my Box Day, I had all kinds of fun stuff, including Volume 3 of the Fables Compendium, Volume 1 of the Starman Compendium, which is awesome, the Victories Omnibus, which was a online comic by Michael Avon Oeming, which is being printed by Dark Horse, Let's see here, what else? The Fourth World by John Byrne, because I was able to get it on a pretty steep discount. And previews!
Yay!
Oh, and 80 Years, 80 Stories from Archie, which is actually a really cool book that I'll be recommending later. But I got the new previews. What about you?
I got nothing. However, I did go out and find the previews.
And one thing that I noticed with my previews, no DC Connect.
Nope, not yet. So I had to do what I absolutely hate doing, go online and figure out how to find it. I just Googled in November solicitations, and they popped up, which could be why I don't have a very big DC list this month. And here I was all happy because actually all across the board, it was kind of a lackluster month for new product for me. I don't know how it was for you.
One thing, these are comics that are coming out in November.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's there's a lot of stuff because the trade paperbacks and everything come out 2-3 months after the regular comics come out. I think a lot of it was already been solicited for this month. And so now they're soliciting books, you know, the hardcovers and the soft covers and stuff that'll be coming out in January and February, which are slower months. And shops would rather not have, 15 omnibuses coming in during December. I'm sorry, during January and February.
It'll probably happen anyways, but
yeah, true. But I decided that you get to decide whether we're going to do previews or comic reviews. And you said you wanted to do previews. Now, I do have a Fate 5 for us based on something that's in previews, so we will get to that.
Oh, interesting.
But this month's previews, they have a thing called Truth on the front cover by a creative team I do not know. Looks interesting. On the spine, Hasbro's putting out a Red Ranger toy. And then on the back is a new book from Brian Michael Bendis called Joy Operations, which is coming out from Dark Horse. That's right. All of his creator-owned stuff has moved over to Dark Horse. In the future, everybody will publish Brian Michael Bendis's creator-owned stuff for 15 minutes.
Everybody.
That's what I am. Andy Warhol said.
15-minute Bendis.
So, Joe, let's start with Image.
All right. Let's see. Image. Okay. As you know, this is an interactive portion of the show. You grab your previews catalog, and again, we're using September 21 previews number 396. And is there anything on the outside heading in that caught your eye, Cory?
Well, I already said what was on the covers. So.
Oh, okay. I was just not paying attention as usual. Okay. Page 34, right off the bat, was something that caught my attention. Not quite sure if I'm going to get it or not, or wait for the trade. Newburn, number 1. Easton Newburn is a private detective without loyalties, investigating conflicts between rival crime factions while collecting enemies along the way. In this debut issue, a man is murdered after stealing from his own mafia family, but they aren't the ones who ordered the hit. 3 pages, and this is what solidified the fact that I will buy this in one form or another. I don't know if I'm going to buy it as a graphic novel as they come out, or if I'm going to just pick it up. Really, I mean, I read the previews and I read all the fine print, even though I'm getting old and need reading glasses. But I was reading this and I was so into just these 3 pages. When I got to the next page, I was like, oh, that's it. So I'm impressed. Let's see. Chip Zdarsky, Nadia Shamas, Jacob Phillips, somebody whose name I will not insult by trying to pronounce. I will call him ZYA. So they're offering it no risk, which means hopefully your retailer should be able to order tons of them. But as you know, Cory and I always advocate going in there ahead of time and letting them know what you want. So that's my first suggestion.
The co-writer, Chip Zdarsky's co-writer on this, is, let's see here, the artist is Jacob Phillips, who draws That Texas Blood, one of my favorite comics coming out right now. I do not know the co-writer, Nadia Shamas. So it looks like, let's see here, the Nadia Shamas and Zayed Youssef Ayub is a backup story. So the main story is Chip Zdarsky and Jacob Phillips. I am going to be getting this as a trade because it looks to be, like most of Zdarsky's stuff, it's going to be kind of a long-form series, which will have a beginning, middle, and end, and it'll read much better as a trade. Matter of fact, I'm at the point where Image's first issues, I do kind of skip them because I'm going to pick up their stuff as a trade, such as on page 55, a book that you recommended a while back. The first trade is out, Geiger, Volume 1, written by Jeff Johns, drawn by Gary Frank. That right there is all I need. But set in the years after nuclear war ravages the planet, desperate outlaws battle for survival in a world of radioactive chaos. Yeah, we've seen it. Out past the poison wasteland lives a man even the Nightcrawlers and Oregon people fear. Some call him Joe Glow, some call him the Meltdown Man, but his name is Geiger. We've got the first trade paperback, but on the page right before it, page 54, is a Geiger 80-page giant, which has a whole bunch of stories by other creators set in that world. And it's Jeff Johns, Jay Farber, Sterling Oates, Janet Harvey. Artists include Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Sean Galloway, Staz Johnson, Kelly Jones, Paul Pelletier. Yeah, that looks like a good jumping on point for me.
Cool. Let's see. Jump back to page 30. Wait a minute. Where are we? Here we go. Page 46. This is one of those I'm not sure what I'm going to do with because the first issue is triple sized for $4.99, which is a pretty good deal. It's called What's the Furthest Place from Here? It's a post-apocalyptic coming-of-age story. The world has ended. All that remains are gangs of children living among the ruins, but Sid believes there must be something more out there. When she disappears into the wasteland, her gang will risk everything to bring her home. A story about the things that matter most, your survival, your loved ones, and your record collection. Why is that important? Well, go right to page 48. Here is the What's the Furthest Place from Here #1 deluxe edition with 7-inch record. They are telling us that every issue of this post-apocalyptic coming-of-age series will have an extremely limited deluxe edition featuring an exclusive variant cover and a 7-inch record with 2 songs from some of today's best indie and punk bands recorded just for this project. And this will only be available in comic shops. So I'm intrigued by the series. I'm very intrigued by the record. I don't know what I'm going to do. Normally, I would probably wait for the graphic novel, but I'm curious about the record. So I guess I'll figure that out. It's just the thought of buying every issue with a record. That's a lot of money. But who knows?
Flip them.
I'll flip them. Yeah, somebody will go, "Oh my God, that record's so cool." So, but I just love stuff like this. I love it when I find CDs and records or in comic books and stuff. Gives me a chance to check out some bands I probably wouldn't have heard on my radio. Anything else for you?
Yeah, on page 56 is the trade paperback of Home, which I reviewed last time we did reviews. I reviewed the first issue by Julio Anta, and art is by Anna. Oh, that's got too many vowels in it. Wiesczczyk. So I apologize to everybody in Eastern Europe. After being separated from his mother at the U.S. border, a young Guatemalan immigrant must learn to harness his emerging superhuman abilities while being hunted by the federal government. The first issue of this was fantastic, utterly fantastic. And the book also will have a educator guide created by Reimagining Migration. So I'm very excited to pick this up when the story is complete as a trade paperback. Loved the first issue. And the thing is, I didn't know when I was reading the first issue it had anything to do with superpowers. It just read like a really good story about migrants being separated at the southern U.S. border, and then they throw that twist at the end of the first issue. And since they have it in the solicitation, it's not really a twist anymore. But wow, what a good book. Really excited to get that one.
That's it for me. I got nothing else in Image. Like I said, this is going to be, there's a lot of things I'm regularly ordering, but they're things that we've talked about in previous podcasts.
Yep, same here. On page 62 and 63, they're pushing the science fiction stuff that they do, including Seven to Eternity, Fear Agent, Black Science, one of my favorite books that Image is doing. And kind of surprised they don't have some of their other science fiction stuff, but they do a lot of science fiction and a lot of crime comics. So this is probably the ones that need a little help, so they're giving them a little push. And then next is Dark Horse.
Dark Horse. I only have one thing from Dark Horse. Turn to page 84. Hey, didn't you just mention this?
Yes, I did.
You did. I can't say his name right. Brian Michael Bendis, Stephen Byrne. This is Joy Operations, a 5-issue miniseries. 55 years from now, Joy is an envoy, EN-VOI, a special agent of one of the Jonando Trust. It's in capital letters, so it's got to be important. Trusts are corporate-owned cities that are the centerpiece of modern society. She rights wrongs for the trust. She's an excellent perfection, hard on herself, driven, almost legendary in some parts, until one day, voice pops in her head trying to get her to betray everything she's believed in. We get a interesting page and a half previews. Interesting enough, and of course, I'll give it a shot because I like Brian Michael Bendis' stuff.
And from what the announcement was, all of his other creator-owned stuff, once the DC print run has sold out, they will be showing up over here, so you'll be able to get powers and everything. Hopefully, he does another story of Scarlet and the history of the United States of murder, the story in which the mob took over the U.S. back in the 30s. Bendis's creator-owned stuff is one of those things, again, I have to wait till it's done, because how many years did we wait for Power stories to finish? Or I'm still waiting on Brilliant. There was, 2 issues, and then it was gone, and that was almost a decade ago. So Bendis became one of those guys who, on his regular stuff, he always puts it out on time. On his creator-owned stuff, he has to do it when he's not doing the corporate-owned stuff, so I wait. And on that one, I will wait. If Joe always says that if you want me to start talking for hours and hours on end, bring up Jack Kirby. You could also bring up EC Comics. So I will point out that Weird Science Volume 1 is now out in trade paperback starting in January. This reprints Weird Science number 12 through 15, and then 5 and 6, because they had renamed it from one of their previous comics and then got caught and had to file a new second-class postal certificate, so they had to renumber the book back to how many issues had actually come out. Again, Al Feldstein, Harry Harrison, Gardner Fox, Harvey Kurtzman, Wally Wood, Jack Kamen, Graham Ingalls, Marie Severin. Yeah, that's enough right there. EC used to say that they were proudest of their science fiction books. I still think the war books by Kurtzman were kind of a step above, and then Crime Suspense Stories was right under that, and then Weird Science and Weird Fantasy. But their science fiction books were really good. Had that EC twist, but also most of the artists that they had working in science fiction loved drawing that stuff. Wally Wood's horror stuff was good. His crime stuff and his war stuff was good. His science fiction stuff was utterly fantastic. And for me, that was it for Dark Horse.
Yep, pretty much me as well.
So next up is IDW.
IDW. Sorry, IDW, nothing new for me this month.
Same here. There was nothing new. All of their new series are basically licensed stuff. And I don't buy their licensed stuff. Not a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if you notice, something different in this month's previews, Joe.
What was that?
They don't even list Marvel anymore.
Oh, yep, Marvel.
They used to have, a page or two of Marvel where they would say, hey, look at the Marvel's preview, and here's all the books that they have listed. They don't even do that anymore. So shall we do DC or Marvel?
Let's do DC. Because like I
Okay.
said, that'll let me close a window on my computer here. Now, as Cory alluded to, there was no DC of anything coming out. Matter of fact, even as we sit here, I just got a note. Shipping delay. Due to a delay in receiving our shipment from timing, we are starting off a few days behind processing shipments. So I don't know if that means anything for just, guys like me. Now I got to wait extra time for my previews, or we just won't get a DC Connect this month.
DC Connect is shipping this week. It was supposed to come out last week. They released it digitally, but they didn't get it done in time for the for comic shops.
Yeah, good going, DC. You had one job. Never mind. Anyways, so what I did is I just Googled in DC November 2021 solicitations, and I decided to use gamesradar.com to go down the list. So my list will be really, I don't know, back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on. The first one I did pick on is something I missed last month. Batman Imposter. I don't know if you talked about this one, Cory.
I did not. There's too many Batman miniseries.
Yeah, and this one caught my eye because as I was going through it, I accidentally called up October's books, and I read the solicitation for Batman Imposter 1 and thought, oh, this is pretty good. And then I realized, oh, I missed ordering it. Not that it matters. It's not out till October, so I got a few months to order it. But 2 and 3 are solicited. It's a 3-issue series written by Mattson Tomlin, art and cover by Andrea Sorrentino. Essentially, Batman, this is like maybe second year in Batman, and while he's slowly making inroads, organized crime decided we got to get rid of this guy, so they set upon a imposter Batman who kills. Needless to say, that runs hard for Batman because, he's not on good terms with the police anyways. So how can he prove his innocence while not being caught up? Issue 2 goes more where it goes Detective Blair Wong, who's assigned to find the Batman, sets her sights on Bruce Wayne as a source of information about the Batman. But neither of them was ready for sparks that flew when they met. And then, of course, issue 3 is the battle against the imposter poisoning the Batman's name. So, anyways, it's 3-issue series. It is Batman. DC's Black Label. So if you get a chance, go resolicit number 1 and 2 and 3. Like I said, DC's doing that a lot. They must be picking up from Marvel. They're just like, okay, instead of doing it monthly, we're just going to bang it all out as fast as we can. Which is weird because then there's other things that I'm going back and forth. Like this month, I'm like, okay, let's order Wonder Woman Hysteria. Oh, wait a minute. No, not this month. Okay, how about Blue and Gold? Oh, well, I guess not this month. So again, they're just making it very difficult to keep things ordering. I've often find when I have everything in a notebook and I just flip back and forth several months to make sure that I don't miss anything. I do that often with independents, but now I have to do it with Marvel and DC. It's just getting to be annoying. That's it for my first DC. Cory, what do you got?
Go to page 16.
It doesn't work that way with me.
We have Gotham City Villains Anniversary Crisis. We have a new writer who's doing his first story at DC.
Oh.
Danny DeVito.
So, hey.
Writing a story of the Penguin. This is another one of those 100-page anthology books written by Danny DeVito, G. Willow Wilson, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Joshua Williams, art by Jill Thompson, Emma Rios, Dan Morrow, Wes Craig, Max Raynor, and others. Variant cover, I'll probably pick up the variant by Frank Quitely if it's not more expensive than the others. And it's another one of these anthologies where creative teams do 8 to 12-page stories, but they're pushing that one of them is written by Danny DeVito. So that'll be interesting at least. What's next on your DC list, Joe?
Going straight. Hang on, let me find my DC window here. Batman: One Dark Night. This is a one-shot by Jock. I have no idea who Jock is, but it doesn't matter.
He did the art on 100 Bullets.
DC Black Label again. From high above the sweltering summer streets of Gotham, Batman planned to escort the Gotham City Police Department as the dangerous meta-human supervillain known as Imp. EMP was transferred from a holding cell to a permanent home. His electrical powers posed a threat, but the situation was in hand until it wasn't. Now every light in Gotham is out, police are in disarray, and a broken, bleeding Batman must fight his way to Blackgate block by block, dragging EMP behind him. As it's a one-shot, it's a prestige book, and like you said, we know the artist. I think I'll give this one a shot. So that was Batman Dark Knight. I'm sorry, One Dark Knight.
DC isn't just doing one of those 100-page anthologies. This is an 80-page anthology. 'Tis the season to be freezing. 10 tales about, let's see, the weather outside is freezing, but these stories sure are a-pleasing. Since you've got no place to go, why not grab a sweater, pour a cup of hot cocoa, and stoke the fire, because these 10 tales are set to lower the mercury. Alan Burnett is writing a story in this. Alan Burnett is a writer who's done some unbelievably good stories at DC. He works mostly in television, so whenever he shows up to do a DC story, you got to pick it up. You've also got Paul Dini doing one. Art by Megan Hetrick, whose covers are fantastic. And again, I like these anthologies. Joe, what's next?
Robins. And if you hang tight with me, I will slide down, since the listing on Games Radar isn't totally alphabetical. It's just kind of like, okay, here's Batman, here's whatever. Robins, here we go. Let's see. It's a 6-issue series written by Tim Seeley, cover art by Valdemar Rivas. The 5 heroes who have donned Batman's the 5 heroes to have donned the Robin cape and mask find themselves at a crossroad in their lives. This is Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, and Damian Wayne. They come together to discuss the big things that bind them together. Was being Robin and Batman's sidekick the best choice they could have made? But before they get to the heart of the matter, they're ambushed by an unknown assailant with a bone to pick with them. She claims to have been the first Robin, and she's out to prove Batman should never have trained any of them. Very interesting idea. You got 2 versions. You got the $3.99 regular, and then there's a card stock variant. And this one was just interesting enough to catch my attention. So I may be picking up on this miniseries. How about you, Cory? What's next on your DC list?
I don't have any other regular comics, but I do want to point out that they are ending the Batman Fear whatever crossover. It ends up being over 35 comics. It says it will bring huge changes to Gotham City. And my comment is, so what? If DC doesn't like it, they'll just say it was in a different universe a month later.
Sure.
They have already announced the next Batman team. I don't quite remember who it was, but this is James Tynion IV's last Batman story. He is moving on to create her own stuff. And that brings me to the collected books.
Well, not yet, because I got one more, actually, two more I want to talk about that caught my attention. The first one, Robin and Batman #1, another prestige miniseries. This is the story of a young Dick Grayson, newly orphaned, struggling to find his way in a strange, difficult, dark new world. The story of Robin and Batman. Yes, not Batman and Robin. Robin and Batman. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nagan for art and cover. And two of the issues are being solicited for that month. So get that right away. And the last one is probably not here. Oh, good, I found it. Batman Superman Authority Special #1. This is a one-shot, and again, I don't know what world it takes place on. Following Mongols' brazen attack on Earth, Superman's world has been turned upside down. Conflict between Atlantis and the surface world, discovery of an immensely powerful new element, dead refugees with mysterious ties to Krypton, and expulsion from the Justice League. Okay, I don't know if any of that ties in any Earth I'm reading about, but anyways, Superman reforms the experimental authority to join him in liberating Warworld. However, Batman comes to them with a request: join him for one orthodox, off-the-books mission first, one he could never ask the Justice League to be part of, one he doesn't expect everyone to come back from. So $5.99. No idea where it fits anywhere. I think it's just a one-shot.
Yeah, it's not by Grant Morrison, who did the Superman and the Authority.
Yeah, if it was Grant Morrison,
miniseries.
we'd already recommended it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's a different Superman. And that's why I'm curious, either way, it caught my attention. Okay, let me roll down while we get to the
I do want to point out that Mad Magazine this month is all Batman.
Yeah, that's a great cover too. Let's
So it'll be just Batman reprints.
I will probably not buy it, although maybe I might. I'm waffly that way. The annotated Sandman Volume 1's back in print. I kind of like this because I dig annotations, especially for a series that I have read so many times. I'm dying to look for anything new. This reprints the first 20 issues. And if I do pick it up, it'll replace my other Sandman books. So again, this is on one of those maybe. I don't know if I'm going to or not. How about what's on your radar there, Cory?
They are doing collected editions of Tom King's two series, Rorschach and Strange Adventures. Thankfully, they're doing the hardcover first.
Yeah.
Because with a couple of his other series, like Omega Men and Mr. Miracle, they did the trade paperback. And then a month later, they went, "Oh, you people want a hardcover? Here you go." Well, I've already bought the trade paperback, you bastards.
Have you heard anything about Rorschach? Is it any good?
I have heard mixed things, but then again, Tom King is becoming one of those guys that the internet doesn't like sometimes. I still like his stuff a lot. So I will be picking this up. I did read the first issue of Strange Adventures. They have it on the DC app, and it's Adam Strange. After leading his adopted home to victory in a great planetary war, he and his wife retire to Earth, where they are greeted with cheers, awards, and parades. but one of the decisions he made is starting to haunt him, and the press is starting to ask questions. And I thought it was a really good setup, so I'm looking forward to that book as well. Let's see here. And then there's all the series that are already going. Oh, by the way, that Robin's series, that was the first of DC's Round Robin, which is they put up 6 series that they might do and ask people to vote on which one they wanted. And that's the one that won.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to pick a book rather than, oh, we really like this.
I am looking, I don't know where the hell it is on this list I'm rolling through. I'm looking for the Fables 20th anniversary box set.
That's in there, yeah.
I'm not buying it because I have all but a few of the Fables books. But this one includes, I believe, everything, including the novels and all the miniseries and everything.
It's generally all 4 of the compendiums, the big trade paperbacks they're doing.
Yeah, and generally these things are pricey to begin with, but as I've got it all in trade, I don't know if I'm going to do a trade up for.
I don't think they put the novel in there either.
No, that's why. Oh, there it is.
They pulled the novel at the last minute.
Oh, they did. Okay, I thought it was Fables, The Last Castle, Fables, 1001 Nights of Snowfalls, Fables, Werewolf of the Heartland, Jack of Fables 33 to 35, and Literals 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it's a nice set with all 4 compendiums. Again, not a lot being bought this month. So this is on one of those. After I do my list, and I'll go back and see, do I want to add it? Kind of like what we got an email, Cory.
We did.
We did. What happened was you know how we always say, hey, if you've got something you're interested in, let us know. And Travis sent us a quick email saying, hey guys, I'd like to mention Fun Girl. He pulled his copy out of the Free Comic Book Day thing, and he said he got laughs and chuckles out of it. He consider buying the book, which we talked about last podcast. I told him, I replied, I said, you're a mind reader. Our next show covers Free Comic Book Day, and this is one that I chose. So yeah, again, if you got anything you think we missed, especially if you're a creator and you want to pimp your product on our website, on our podcast, we love doing that. Just drop us a quick note. We'll tell you how later in the show. Anything else DC wise?
When we get to the collected editions, DMZ, the Vertigo series, they're putting out Compendium 2. Compendiums are like omnibuses, except they're paperbacks. Like I have the Fables Compendium number 3 in my hand. And this is how they're doing those books. DMZ was a very well done book. After a second U.S. Civil War, Manhattan is kind of the demilitarized zone. And the story follows a journalist who's covering what's going on between the 2 parts of the country in this demilitarized zone. Really good stuff. Fables Compendium 4 finishes up the series, issues 114 through 150. Kind of surprised that they don't have all of the other spin-off books that are going to get their own. Maybe they'll get their own little, maybe they'll get their own book that collects all of that. And I think that was it for me.
All right. Would you look
yes, that
somewhere?
Was it.
I have down Justice League Incarnate number 1.
Yes.
I cannot find it on the solicitation list here.
Yes, it is in there. It's the first issue. This is a Justice League spinning out of Infinite Frontier. It's the basically it's the team that's put together an Infinite Frontier of superheroes from different universes who will fight to keep the universes from blowing up and falling apart and etc.
And it's Darkseid's fault. So we'll go into. So anyways, that's it for me for DC. All right. Next up, Dynamite.
Let's do Marvel.
Oh, you want to do Marvel?
Yeah, okay. Let's do Marvel.
Let me switch gears because Marvel still has their own separate supplement. We'll see what they do next month. Because next month is going to be where all the distributors have to order Kitty Wampus, whatever. We'll talk to
This is the month where they have to start ordering.
Oh, is this it? Yeah. Now let's just increase her costs and all right, let's start off right in the beginning. One I was blabbing about last week with the free comic book day. And after reading it, I'm definitely going to jump in. Hulk, #1. He is immortal no longer. An uncontrollable rage of the Hulk has reached an all-new level. Nobody, including the Avengers, is prepared to handle it. But is it really the Hulk that people should be afraid of, or is there something missing to this puzzle? Donny Cates, Ryan Otterly. And this is right on page 4, right in the beginning. A number of variant covers to choose from. Let's see, I don't think I really have my heart set on anything. Usually what we find when Cory and I order is just the regular cover they give a special discount to. Otherwise, I'd go for either Dan Jurgens, Peach Momoko, or Arthur Adams variant cover, because there's no way in heck you're going to find the hidden gem variant cover by Herb Trimp. Those tend to go for silly money on the eBays once they're discovered.
What about the TBA? I like TBA's art.
Oh, that is very popular, but I never got anything from TBA, so I just gave up.
A couple pages later on page 8 is a Thing miniseries, and normally I would just kind of, pass over this and not pay attention.
Whatever.
However, this one is written by Walter Mosley, who is a incredibly popular mystery writer, including the Easy Rollins mysteries, such as Devil in a Blue Dress, Red Death, White Butterfly. Devil in a Blue Dress was made into a movie a few years ago. I loved that movie, loved those books, surprised they didn't make any others. He's a fantastic fiction writer, and to my mind, Marvel getting him to do a miniseries is kind of a get. So, yes, I will buy this as a trade paperback, but I do want to point it out.
Yeah, I will buy this as a series, because I just, for some reason, I just absolutely love the Thing. He's kind of like an everyman character in the Marvel Universe, and it's just kind of fun to see. I'm going to jump forward to page 42. This is something again, on the to be decided list, but I got to give the man credit. This is the X-Force Killshot Anniversary Special #1. Basically, Cable is getting together various X-Force teams because he's going to end the menace of strife once and for all at all cost. Sacrifices, betrayals, and revelations await as X-Force attempts their most daring assault ever. And this is the 30th anniversary of X-Force. If you recall those heady days in the 80s, X-Force came out with, was it 5 or 6?
6, because there was a regular, and then the bagged ones each had a separate card.
Yeah, and so this time we're coming around with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variant connecting covers by Rob Liefeld, and then there'll be variant covers by Scott Campbell, Ron Lim, Rob Liefeld, A Hidden Gem by Rob Liefeld, Francis Yu will do one. So I'm not going to buy all the connecting covers, but for a one shot, this could be some fun. Kind of because I know when it came out, I was a young, impressionable lad. Not really, but I enjoyed X-Force when it first came out. So this one could be a fun one to pick up.
Black Panther #1 is on page 32 and 33. New creative team, new art, new direction. The story is going to be by John Ridley, who is a Oscar-winning filmmaker, and the cover that they show is fantastic by Juan Cabal. And I've always liked Black Panther. I like that Marvel is putting a lot of emphasis on the character, and new series. And I feel like I'm the only person who says, I don't mind when they start over with a new #1 if they're going to have a new creative team that goes in a new direction, because it reminds me a lot of TV seasons. Each season is separate unto itself now for most TV series. It may continue if the creative team continues, but also I'm used to book series where, things like that happen. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. For me, the next comic is up on page 50. Fantastic Four Anniversary Tribute #1. 60 years ago, some guys who toiled in anonymity, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, made history and brought about the beginning of the Marvel Age of Comics with the release of Fantastic Four #1. Now a bevy of Marvel's finest creators will pay tribute to that monumental moment by reinterpreting page by page the story from Fantastic Four 1 as well as Fantastic Four Annual #3, where the entirety of the Marvel Universe attended the wedding of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. This sounds amazingly fun. And I don't know how many variant covers, if any, they're going to be, but I just want to get one of these and read it. It just is going to be a blast. I mean, it's of all the comics I have, I absolutely adore Fantastic Four Annual #3. And that's the way to do crossovers, boys. If you're looking.
Well, this is a lot like the X-Men thing they did where they had people redraw the giant size X-Men #1.
Yeah.
So I want to point out a Marvel Tales. Marvel Tales, Genisvel, Marvel Tales #1 on page 58, reprints the first 4 issues of the final Captain Marvel series with Captain Marvel's son, Genis. It was by Peter David and Chris Cross. It was a fantastic series. And the fact that they are doing this means maybe they're bringing this character back, because he's one of those characters who died and then they just kind of left him dead because nobody else knew what to do with him other than Peter David. So this is a really good story. It's $7.99 for 100 pages, 88 pages. Really fun reprint. And better than buying the trade paperback, which probably is out of print and costs a hell of a lot more. Joe?
All right. I have nothing else comic-wise.
I did not either. Still, no more True Believers.
Nope.
Sigh.
Yeah, it's like the guy who must have championed that program is gone from Marvel. It's like, okay, all with those.
That's a shame, too, because those were a lot of fun.
I thought so.
I have a long box that's mostly all of those, and it's just like having a weird collection of single issues. And now to the trade paperbacks. Now to where the money goes.
Money, money, money. Oh, not too bad for me this month. I'm going to start out on page 80. This is one of those Dr. Doom, the Book of Doom Omnibus. And the only reason I'm not sure about it is because they didn't put in my favorite story of all time, Fantastic Four #200. But they have a whole oodle of Dr. Doom covers. I'm sorry, appearances. All the way back, Fantastic Four 5/6, 3940. Let's see, Amazing Spider-Man 5, Marvel Superheroes 20, if you remember that issue. Giant-sized supervillain team-up 1-2. It's just a ton of stuff, including the graphic novels Emperor Doom and Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom, plus bits and pieces from all sorts of other things. So this just sounds...
That Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom book by Roger Stern and Mike Mignola, still one of the best of the Marvel graphic novels of the 80s. Just a beautiful book, and actually tied up a long-standing Doctor Doom plot thread. They since have undone it, but I thought it was a great ending to the story of why Doctor Doom got into sorcery was to save his mother from hell. This ends that story. So great stuff. I am not picking this one up because it's a bunch of kind of random.
Yeah.
Now they did a Loki one a while back, which had every Loki appearance in order, and I would rather just get the Thor omnibuses than the ones that are bits and pieces, because let's face it, I love Jack Kirby. Love Jack Kirby. Love Stan Lee. Every time Loki showed up in Thor, it was the same story. He had figured out a way to take over Asgard. Thor couldn't fight him directly, so Loki would do some horrible thing, and then Odin would show up at the last minute and save the day. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I don't need an omnibus of that story over and over again.
No.
On the next page is the Moon Knight by Charlie Hudson, Mike Benson, and Greg Hurwitz. It also has writing by Diane Swierczewski, who is a novel writer who worked at Marvel for a while, then went over and worked at IDW for a while, and is now back writing novels. Art by David Finch. This is the Moon Knight series from 2006. Really good stuff. David Finch's art is amazing in this. And I like Moon Knight, so I am picking this one up. Then the next two pages are Budget Busters.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thor by Matt Fraction omnibus.
Oh.
Matt Fraction was the guy who took over Thor after J. Michael Straczynski left, and led up to the, Fear Itself miniseries. That's finally getting an omnibus. Then on the next page, Thor by Jason Aaron Omnibus Volume 1. Joe's been picking up the hardcovers, and I decided
trades.
I decided I would wait for the omnibus. There are going to be 2 omnibuses.
Yeah. No, I wanted to read them, couldn't wait. I made my decision. However, on page 87, there she is. There she is. War of the Realms omnibus with the whole effing show, which I believe 90% of it was this when the pandemic was happening and a lot of this stuff never got published.
No, what was that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't care.
No, this one all came out, and I bought the first printing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where the first printing sold out immediately.
Yep. So, and I missed it, and now I get a chance to buy it.
If you go back a page to page 85, here's a book Joe's going to be ordering, but he didn't mention it.
I don't know.
She-Hulk by Peter David.
I have them, though. That's the only problem. And it's not an expensive omnibus.
No, because it's not that big. It's only 552 pages. It's Peter David's run on She-Hulk. He took over after Dan Slott left and was on it for about a year and a half. They also have the crossovers he did, $75. So if you buy it from DCB Service, it's only like $38. And really good stuff. Peter David took over after Dan Slott did his run of kind of her as a lawyer, basically playing with what the legal system would be like at Marvel. He took it over and had it more as she was a bounty hunter, and this came after Secret Invasion. So there was Skrull stuff going on it and everything. I remember it being a series that I liked. They are also reprinting the Star Wars Darth Vader by Gillen and LaRocca. They did the first Darth Vader series when Marvel took over the Star Wars license in 2015. This is a fantastic book, and it tells the story of Darth Vader between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Let's see, what were the other ones that jumped out at me? Boy, War of the Bounty Hunters has a whole lot of trade paperbacks. It looks like Nonstop Spider-Man is a limited series after all, because the Nonstop Spider-Man trade paperback doesn't say Volume 1, it just says Nonstop Spider-Man. So
Nonstop Spider-Man's going to stop.
Yep.
Oh, I smell a lawsuit.
And That's the one that Joe reviewed. Yeah, it's just like my lawsuit for the Never-Ending Story. And that's one where I tried reading it on digital, and because of the page design that Chris Bacalo uses, it's next to impossible to read on digital. Really annoying. Oh, the Thor Epic Collection, number 7, Oleg Unchained. This reprints Thor 217 through 241, which is Gary Conway leading into Len Wein. I have never read these stories. It's John Buscema, Rich Buckler, Sal Buscema, Keith Pollard. Hey, it's John Buscema drawing stuff where he doesn't have to draw cars and buildings, so he's very happy about that. And I don't think any of the other Epic collections jumped out at me. There are some reprinted ones. Oh, there was one. And I don't know if I'm picking it up or not, but I'm really interested. It's going to be one that kind of hovers on the edge. And that's Hawkeye Epic Collection. Now, Hawkeye's never really had much of a series, but this reprints his appearances in Iron Man when he was a villain. Not a lot of his Avengers stuff, because he was a main character in the Avengers. Just kind of the stories where he was the focus. But all of the stories like where he was in Marvel Team Up, he was in Captain America, when he showed up in Marvel Fanfare, the miniseries that he had in the 80s. I'm really interested in this. It's going to be a coin flip as to whether I buy it or not, or if I just have to wait and see if I can find it somewhere cheaper, because it's going to depend on the budget. And then the next 2 pages are nothing but reprints of Epic collections. So, by the way, if you missed out on any of these, you should probably pick them up now. Marvel has said they're going to be keeping them in print forever and ever and ever.
Hooray!
And ever. One I'm not buying, but I'm pointing out, Joe, remember when I was able to get the Atlantis Attacks Omnibus for $20?
Yes.
Well, guess what? You can now get get it as a trade paperback for $44.99. Although, you know, if you look around online, you could get it for like $25. Is the story any good? No, not really.
Not really.
It was basically what Marvel started doing in the 80s was they started having all of the annuals cross over. So they would do big stories that went from annual to annual to annual and annual. And then they finally did where, okay, it's going to be one story for all the Spider-Man annuals and one story for all the X-Men annuals and one story for all these annuals. And then by 94, 95, the annuals went away, and I was very sad because I remember as a kid when the annuals came out, they were great all-in-one stories. Except for the ones that were continued, like Avengers into Marvel 2-in-1, or Fantastic Four into Marvel 2-in-1, and then into Marvel 2-in-1, the regular comic, where the Fantastic Four fought the Avengers, not the Avengers, the Invaders, and then the Liberty Legion, and then Nazis. They were fighting Nazis.
Oh, I hate Nazis.
And that's it for Marvel.
Cool. Next up, Dynamite. Nothing new for me. A couple things I will point out. On page 132, if you're a Sheena fan, Sheena, Queen of the Jungle is back. If you're into the Vamp verse, I don't know what else to call it, where all the different characters from Vampirella are in their own universe. On page 138, you've got NYX. The Chris is from the pages of Vampirella and Sacred 6. She's daughter of a human and the mad god Chaos himself. Other than that, I like to point out on page 155, not a lot of goofy stuff, as I call it, from Dynamite. A couple things on page 155. They're offering again the Reanimator collectible board game, the Red Sonja Legacy board game. Again, if you got friends that like either one of these and like games, what are you waiting for? And then above that, I got to look at that and think about it. It's Red Sonja Greg Hildebrandt special edition metal cover.
Metal.
Well, after looking at that metal cover I got from Chaos a while back, Oh, this looks very cool. So again, I gotta wait and see if I can afford it. It's a brand new Craig Hildebrandt masterly remastered metal cover, and it has a couple Red Sonja reprints, number 1 from 77 and a bonus story from Marvel Feature number 1. So and please note, and this is the real reason, please note, always use caution handling metal covers as edges can be sharp. So not only do we have omnibuses which can be used to kill small livestock, but now we have these metallic covers which can be used as personal defense weapons. Anyways, that's it.
I'm gonna cut you with my comic.
Yes, gonna cut you. That's it for me.
Sad that we don't have the comic shop where Dave could try to destroy the metal cover like he did the indestructible cover.
Yep. So much.
Oh wait, no, these are $100.
Yeah. He can try. He might cut himself. So that's it for me for Dynamite.
And now, the rest of the story.
Boom!
It is gaming month, so it's basically they highlight comics based on games.
Yep.
Oddly enough, they do not have Knights at the Dinner Table listed, which is the one that I buy.
I will point out on page 193 from Boom, it's not game, but it's an original graphic novel that sounds interesting. This isn't actually coming out till January.
Oh gosh, I skipped Boom, didn't I?
Well, I assume there's nothing there because
yeah.
I mean, other than my regular stuff and all the licensed product, which again, if you're into the licensed product, you should be looking at. But there were two things from Boom. First of all, page 193, The Many Deaths of Leela Star. Humanity is on the verge of discovering immortality. As a result, the avatar of death is cast down to Earth to live a mortal life in Mumbai as a 20-something Leela Star. Struggling with her newfound mortality, she's found a way to be placed in the time and place where the creator of immortality will be born. Will she take her chance to stop mankind from permanently altering the life cycle, or will death really become a thing of the past? Again, a new graphic novel, $14, 128 pages, written by Ram V, Philip Andrade. And the only other one that I'm looking at possibly is back on page 180. Regarding the matter of Oswald's body, number 1. Where is Lee Harvey Oswald's body? The Kennedy assassination is a rat's nest of conspiracy theories, mafia involvement, second gunman, government cover up the incident. But the most important chapter of the sword tale may be just the theory that the body buried at Oswald's Rose Hill gravesite is not actually him. Well, there's a ragtag of useful idiots who are unwittingly brought together to clean up the crime of the century. They throw this for fans of Department of Truth from Image, Time Before Dime. It's an off-kilter crime thriller set in shadows of history's greatest conspiracy. As it's a mini-series, I may give this one a shot, or I may wait for the inevitable graphic novels. Either one I could be good with.
And now we go to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
All sorts of stories. All right.
What's the one that jumps out at you first, Joe?
All right. I like to take them in order as they come through. And I will start, let's see, page 204. I'll give you a moment to catch up. From Ablaze, Gilliam March's Laura number 1. This is the guy who worked on the hit Joker series. Suffering from the ever-painful experience of unrequited love, 20-year-old Laura takes a look at her life. Is the fact that the boy she has feelings for in love with someone else mean there's something wrong with her? Or is that just how young love goes? And what will happen when she tries to get the past, the hurt, and move on with her life? There's a lot of miniseries, a blank cover, as well as a retailer exclusive cover. So that one kind of caught my eye. Slice of life, mature type book. I'll probably pick that one up. Just give it a shot. How about you, Mr. S? What was your first one?
I go all the way to Binge Books. I'm going to give them a try. The first one actually arrived in my box this week, the Liberty Machine, whatever it's called. I have not read it yet, but that one showed up. This one is called Super Sleepy #1 Bedtime Stories, and if you look at the art, boy, it sure looks like a Harvey book.
Harvey comic, yeah. Page
It's-
264 for those of you trying to read along.
And actually, it's drawn by the guy who's been drawing the Peanuts comic for Boom, created by one of the writers of The Office, Ursula Burton. Nagged by nightmares, bothered by blanket hogs, troubled by telemarketers? Have no fear, Super Sleepy is here. Super Sleepy is the pint-sized protectors of sleepyheads everywhere. Basically, it's a kid's comic, and the way they are hyping it is, hey, kids can't pre-order our comics, so their local comic shop needs to order it now. Please order it so that it's available all year long. I'm going to give it a try because the art style looks inviting. I like Harvey. And the fact that it's written by somebody who wrote The Office, that's kind of odd for a kid's book. So, could be good, could be strange. I'm giving Binge Books a try because they're employing a lot of older creators like Sal Buscema and Ron Frenz and Roger Stern, who don't seem to get play at the big companies anymore. Joe?
Let's see. Back on page 211. And I have to switch my page because that was on the wrong page. Up in Action Lab Danger Zone, Hard Promises. Miles and Red's relationship stopped abruptly during their senior year of high school, and Red's relationships Red left without saying goodbye to anyone, breaking Miles' heart. Years after her disappearance, Miles can't seem to get his life together and is constantly retelling his story of heartbreak to anyone who will listen, when suddenly, guess who's back in town, claiming to be from the future? That was the hook for me. So, and then of course you get two covers. One of them looks like Red is a fighting demons with a sword. The other one just looks like they're out in a field playing guitar or whatever. So that caught my attention, and I've had good luck with Action Lab before, so I'll give that one a shot. Mr. S.
If you go to page 292, you'll see that Fantago is reprinting. It's calling it Fantastic Giants Facsimile Edition. It reprints the adaptations of two really obscure 60s movies, Conga and Gorgo. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because both of those were done by Carlton Comics, drawn by Steve Ditko. However, the comic is 68 pages for $12.95. No. Go to our friend Craig Yo. Pick up Ditko's Monsters, which has not just this Gorgo story, but all of the Gorgo stories.
Yo.
And then go and pick up Ditko Monster Conga, which doesn't have this story, but all of the Conga stories. Craig Yo's books are beautifully done, have the entire series in it, and if you go up by page count, much cheaper than this 68-page comic. And it's Craig Yo, whom we love.
Yo. On page 221 in Aftershock Comics is in Omnibus of Animosity. This is the complete series in one massive, mammal-friendly, 600-plus page hardcover. One day, the animals woke up. They started thinking. They started talking. They started talking revenge. Now a dog and his girl are out trying to get away out of New York City all the way to San Francisco. The only person who might be able to protect and save her. It's the adventures of Jessie and her dog Sandor on their travels where they'll meet the animal army, be introduced to a queen bee, escape the clutches of terrible boarding school, and navigate the apocalyptic landscape of America, all while meeting friends and making enemies. This is the whole series, issues 1 through 28, including the free comic book day stuff. $125 for 665 pages. Again, this is on the, we'll see what I get block, but being as I'm not going omnibus heavy this month, unlike my my cohort on the other end of these tubes and wires we call the interwebs. So this one may make the cut. What's up for you next?
Joe, go to page 297.
297. Ooh.
There is a new book out from Overstreet.
Yep.
And this is the one that I think we should do a podcast on. And it is the Comic Book Price Guide of Lost Universes. Comic history is filled with imprints, initiatives, and startup publishers, small and large, that for whatever reason didn't stand the test of time. That, though, isn't always the end of things. This is comics, isn't it? They will be covering Milestone, Valiant, Thunder Agents, Carlton Superheroes, the Topps Kirbyverse, the Archie Heroes, Malibu's Ultraverse, Marvel's New Universe, A+ Atlas Seaboard, Comics Greatest World, Defiant, Future Comics, Triumph, and more. I will probably pick up the Iron Jaw cover by Lee Weeks because it is the best looking one. I like Jerry Ordway's art, but the Mighty Crusaders were always ugly looking costumes. And then I think you and I should do a Fave 5, our Fave 5 Lost Universes.
That could be fun. Yeah, I have this on my list as well. I'm not quite sure which cover I'm going to go for. But
they say that this will be the Overstreet Price Guide, but it will serve as a photo journal of all the comics featured. Now, Joe, you have a copy of the comics photo journal, right?
Yeah, somewhere.
That was a book that a really ambitious guy started in the late 80s, where he was going to have a photo of every comic book cover up till, I think, the mid 60s. And you could even subscribe for the ones that he hadn't found yet for them to send you stickers that you could stick in the book. And eventually that fell apart. He also did a Marvel photo journal guide. Both of these are 2-volume books. They were incredibly expensive back then. If you see them now, most of them were remaindered out. I remember I picked up the Marvel one about 4 years after it came out, both volumes for like $25 when they were $60 each when they came out. So this will be really cool to look at. It'll have a photo of all of the covers of all of these books and a story behind each of them. If it's like the Overstreet articles lately, it won't go really in depth. That's been my problem with Overstreet's price guide now. A lot of their, this is our feature article, and it skims the surface of whatever they're talking about. Unlike back in the 70s and 80s when they would, dedicate pages and pages and pages to those articles. I think that now that there's the internet, they go, we're talking to people who don't know much. But I'm really excited about this book. And I have been since they announced it about 6 months ago. Joe?
Back on page 226 under Ahoy Comics.
Ahoy,
My
hoy.
Bad. Number 1 with Mark James Russell, Brian Igman writing it, and some cat we've never heard of, Peter Krause, doing the art. A sharp superhero spoof from a stellar team that includes co-creators of Irredeemable and Second Coming. In Gravel City, the supervillain Emperor King has devised not only a sadistic death trap for his archenemy, the Accelerator, but also the means to penetrate the top secrets of his other archenemy, the Chandelier. Important new comic book universe begins here, we say sarcastically. And of course, much as I love Ordway, I'm giving the Peter Krause cover. So definitely pick that one up. We like to support Pete. He's one of the nicer friends I've made in the comic industry.
Great guy, fantastic artist. Just a fantastic artist.
I just got to write down, get the Krause book. Krause! Cory.
I'm taking a look here. Again, there's not a whole lot that jumped out at me that I'm not, continuing.
Already getting, yeah.
Yeah. So, trying to look.
I will point out as you're
Go ahead and look.
Sure, I'll start rattling.
When I'm looking, I don't know if it's that I didn't go through this stuff, but it's no. No,
You know,
there's just not
90% of it
much
is
I'm
like
getting.
books and graphic novels. Every so often something will catch my mind. This is just something I'm pointing out. I haven't decided if I'm buying it yet. Page 242, Aspen Comics, Fathom the Core. This is Aspen Comics' largest and most ambitious release of the year. And apparently this is what's going to continue Fathom on to the future. What I'm looking at, of course, is the Michael Turner retailer variant cover. Not that the other two covers aren't good. Don't want to diss off Donnie or Alex, but so that's something I was going to check out. If you're into the Crossed universe, our good friends at Avatar are blowing out them as well as tons of other books, which Cory and I have talked about in the past. I will have to, now that I have my graphic novels actually in some semblance of order, I will go through all this and double check to see which ones I'm missing. I know ones I've picked up in the past. Crossed is just crazily insane. And if you go with Cross 100, Alan Moore had his fingers in that pie. Things I've read in the past, Anna Mercury, Dix from Garth Ennis.
Dix was really good.
Yeah. Let's see.
And it's about two really terrible private detectives.
Mercury Heat, Volumes 1 and 2, War Stories by Garth Ennis. I do recommend.
You know the weird thing about those war stories? They were originally printed at Vertigo.
That sounds about right. If you haven't read Super God, you get a chance to get all 5 books in a bag set. Underneath it, on page 251, there are No Hero, which I read in a graphic novel form, and I loved it. And there's a couple different bag sets. I don't know if that's the whole series or just a bunch of random books, but they're all fairly cheap. So again, Avatar continues blowing things up. If you go to Boundless Forward, they got a bunch of Lady Death stuff they're still trying to move out, including some newer stuff. Let's see. Let's see what else is going on.
On page 362,
dun, dun, dun.
There is a new book from Tomorrow's. John Severance, two-fisted comic artist. From his start in 1947 at the Simon & Kirby shop, Joe Severance co-created legendary comic strip American Eagle, became an EC Comics mainstay, worked with Harvey Kurtzman on Mad and Two-Fisted Tales. In addition to a 40-year association with Cracked, he worked at Marvel, including time on the Hulk.
The magazine, not the drug.
He worked on Hulk and Sergeant Fury and did fill-ins here and there. Remained a workhorse until his final Dark Horse miniseries at age 89. It's a hardcover. Tomorrow's books about artists have been fantastic. The Reed Crandall one I picked up a while back. I'm still going back and reading that from time to time. Just they do such a good job of these biographies. And John Severance, a really interesting guy. He carried Cracked on his back for 40 years. Whenever I pick up an issue of Cracked, because you don't find them, but when I see him at a comic shop, the only reason I pick him up is for the John Severance stuff. 90% of the time, his stuff is the only stuff in it worth looking at. He did movie parodies. He did magazine parodies. He did stuff for articles. Just a fantastic artist. It's a shame that he didn't do more war comics, because I don't know if I've talked about this, Joe. When Harvey Kurtzman, when they made Mad a monthly, Kurtzman no longer had time to do any other books, so they handed over Two-Fisted Tales to Severance for the last batch of issues, and they were almost as good as the Harvey Kurtzman ones. So really a fantastic artist, and happy to get his life story.
Let's see, where am I going next? So many places to go. Okay, on page 270, I will mention this because I'll probably be talking about it in the future. If you didn't jump on Jeff Smith's Kickstarter for Tukey Volume 1, here's your chance to get it through previews. So you've been warned. It's his reimagined world of 2 million years ago, so I'm looking forward to reading my Kickstarter one that I got. And let's see what else we got here. Page 280. Now, as I was reading through this, something caught my eye here. First of all, it's called Octobrina It With Love. And their solicitation starts out, David Bowie was going to make a superhero movie about her. Billy Idol has a tattoo of her. And now, 50 years since her debut, celebrate the return of one of the most enigmatic comic book characters you've never heard of. Octobrina with Love is an all-star graphic novel celebrating the 50th anniversary of the cult underground Russian superhero by an exciting mix of creative talent. The Russian Devil Woman first appeared in the controversial book Octobrina and the Russian Underground in 1971. The story that she was created by a group of anti-Soviet youth proved to be false, but that did not stop the Amazonian heroine from influencing indie comic artists the world over. If all that is said is true, for a mere $9.99, you can pick up 64 pages and see what the fuss was all about, including a couple. It seems to be a trend in independent comics to have a homage cover, and they have one there, which I think is kind of neat. So, again, I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll find out in, I guess, November if it was worth the hype.
I do not have anything else that is new. There is a book on page 378 I'm waffling on, and that is The History of the Beano. And Beano is a comic in England. It is a humor comic aimed at kids that has been around since the 50s, that all I know is it exists. And I'm big on comic history, so I'm kind of thinking I might get it, just so I know more about it. It is also where Dennis the Menace began. Did you know, Joe, did you know there was a British Dennis the Menace and an American Dennis the Menace? They were both created in the same month. And they had to put together an agreement so that over in England, Dennis the Menace, our version, is called something different, and Dennis the Menace, the British version, has never come to the U.S. So
we
there
never
you go.
get anything.
No, we don't get any of the crappy stuff.
Nope. On page 281, I'm not buying it, but if you are a Trailer Park Boys fan, there is your big ass comic collection trade paperback from Devil's Due. So there's your chance to jump on that. On page 224, I'm sorry, 324. This is where I get getting tired and I wasn't paying attention. Another book that's one of those, maybe it's being solicited for January 12th. Petrograd. The year is 1916. The fate of millions of people hang in balance in the Russian capital city of Petrograd. Corruption rules the day and conspiracy rules the night. But to British intelligence officer Cleary, this post is all drunken nights, bleary-eyed mornings, and the occasional report back to London. However, when rumors circulate that the Tsar's most trusted advisor is trying to make peace with Germany, clearly, to his horror, he's tasked with ending the influence of that advisor, the notorious Rasputin. So the stage is set for one of the most famous and strangest assassinations of all time in the world that will never be the same again. A couple pages preview. Again, this is one of those intriguing. Now in paperback, it's got a historian afterward. So I will definitely keep an eye on the budget, and this is one that I hope to pick up if I can squeeze it in. Things actually look good this month because they're in like 5 billion omnibuses I'm trying to catch up on. Of course,
I do want to point out in the T-shirts, for the second month in a row, nothing from Graffiti.
Maybe they're gone.
I looked on their website. They still exist. but I think it's rather odd that they're no longer in previews. And I'm looking in the DC Connect to see if they're there, because they mostly did DC t-shirts, but I'm not seeing them in that either. So I should probably
If
start
somebody knows, give us
go.
a yell. I'm ordering it through the Kickstarter, but on page 349, Butts in the Seats, the Tony Schiavone story. This is from teenage wrestling fan to becoming the voice of your childhood. Famed professional wrestling commentator Tony Schiavone has spent 5 decades working in the pro wrestling industry, and he's now sharing his story with the world. If you got it through Kickstarter, don't worry about it. But if you didn't, here's your chance to get it. This is the type of thing that annoys a lot of Kickstarter people because they're like, oh, you're soliciting and I haven't gotten mine. I'm like, well, I'm going to get mine eventually. I'm not worried about it.
And it's not coming out till November.
Yeah. Plus, I'd like to get a Tony Schiavone autograph version, but they haven't figured that one out yet. Finally, let's jump into Titans, starting on page 354. There's a Doctor Who, Empire of the Wolf, teaming up the Matt Smith and Patrick McGann Doctor with the Rose Tyler from the other universe. So 4-issue series, that should be kind of fun. Bunch of mini-series as well. On page across from it, 355, if you're a Blade Runner fan. Blade Runner 2029 is continuing a new story arc. They're at number 9, but you could probably catch up. And on the following page, page 357, Star Trek Explorer #1 official magazine. If you're a fan of Star Trek, I've absolutely loved these. There are a lot of behind-the-scenes articles, a lot of geekdom, a lot of fandom, things like that. Before you're done, though, I want you all to flip your book over to the toy side. Just a couple things I'm going to point out that I think are kind of neat. On page 34, under Fantastic Four, there, as far as I know, is the first time we've seen a Marvel Legends Tigra 6-inch figure and a 6-inch Hercules figure. Priced fairly, what I would expect them to be priced at nowadays. But they actually look pretty neat. I might actually pick on that. And the other thing that kind of gave me a chuckle is up on page 51. The Pop Mr. Simpson Alien Mr. Burns vinyl figure with both the regular and the limited glow chase edition.
Ooh.
I just thought that was kind of funny looking. Like I said, the only Pop figure I have is a Spam can, but occasionally something catches my eye and I gotta go, ew.
I'm almost tempted to get that Galactus with Silver Surfer Blacklight figure on page 49,
yes.
But that's way too big and way too expensive. And what would I do with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Please, Funko, please reissue the Baby Metal Funkos. They're going for $100 each. I don't want to pay $100.
Nope.
I mean, it's not like you're not putting out multiple Spider-Mans and multiple Hulks and multiple everything. Come on, man. Come on, man.
We'll be your friend.
We'll get Butch to buy a second figure.
Ooh.
And that's it for previews.
And again, if you got anything you think if you got anything you think we missed, drop us a quick line. Cory, tell them how.
Why, it's in our ad right here. Our newest sponsor is Nordvpn. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. Nordvpn gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And if you've got spare time, here are all these other podcasts I do. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs. But you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast. But on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcast that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I, and of course Wolfie B. Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions, and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio, if you remember, at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And if you have spare money, here's all the stuff Joe has on eBay.
I wasn't ready for that segue. Actually, I gotta say, I'm gonna save my eBay comments for freaking. I will say though, a lot of things are going. I've been removing things, getting ready for prepping for the con, and I'm going to be putting on some things that they gave me, some big buck books that I'm talking like variant covers and things like that. And of course, if you see them as friends of the show, you know what to do. Just drop me a line, say, hey, would you take this for that? And a lot of times I will, if not give you a better deal. Sometimes I can't, and I'll respond with equally as good a deal. And I've been able to sell quite a bit so far. But what do I have left? Only one way to find out. Head over to eBay, crazy, KRAYZ. Come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I look at how much Bill Sienkiewicz art's going for on his art page and go, no, it's freaking a geeky. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I had a listing removed from eBay because apparently I violated the restricted adult items policy.
You're selling porn again.
Actually, no. And this is what the freaking's about. So what's happening is eBay has decided they're shutting down their adult site only. Now, I know there's probably people out there going, yay, because, you know, your morals don't like porn or adult item comics or whatever. Basically, as of June 5th, 2021, prohibited adult items are no longer allowed on eBay. That includes non-sexually explicit art and sexual wellness items. They define nudity as showing any part of male or female, modeling clothes that is see-through, blah, blah, blah. I want people to stop and think. The 2 items that were removed. The first one was a book called Dam's Elvis, Daughter of Helvis from Fangraphix Eros, which was a movie tie-in to a movie I've never heard of. But you can go Wikipedia it if you care. Another one was a book of good girl art from Frank Frazetta. Baby, You're Really Something. Again, published under Eros. You think I'm making a joke, but when I had in my comic shop, I had a mom come in, slap a copy down of an Amazing Spider-Man comic and tell me this is pornographic because Spider-Man's sleeping with someone. And I open it up and it goes, that's his wife. No, Spider-Man's not married. Yes, she is. And I point back to the famous annual that had them getting married. Then I stop and I think about the hot McFarlane thing he did where Peter was taking pictures of Mary Jane. They were married. And he just kind of glum. And she says, here, let's spice this up. And she obviously has removed her top. Remind me to tell you the time I had to tell a lady about how she was telling me I sold her son pornographic Vampirilla comics. And I had to say, this is nothing different than you're going to see at the beach that's less than a mile away. More importantly, you're telling me not to sell it to your son, which is fine, but not to sell it to all my other customers who, God bless them, in synchronicity all looked up and kind of gave her a big glare. Again, this isn't censorship. Censorship is the government doing it. This is just a private corporation deciding, hey, we don't want any part of this. So think about all the things that in your collection that somebody might have objected to, be it an underground comic, classic or not, be it, I don't know, New Adventures of Jesus Christ. Oh, that's blasphemous. Be it a Lady Death comic, be it one of the hot, how many comic covers were canceled because somebody thought it was too sexualized? You know, Frank Cho has a whole living doing these outrage titles. Just saying, I don't like this trend. I don't like the fact that now you can't get these comics where I'd like to sell them. I mean, I'll find a place to sell them. That ain't the problem. But this is just something we should all think very carefully of. This is going to turn around, and pretty soon eBay is just going to start, well, this is pornographic. Well, no, it's not. It's Spider-Woman. Yeah, but look at what she's wearing. That's not right for kids. How many times have we heard that argument, Cory? So I'm not liking it. I got to deal with it. Again, if you're all upset about it, stay off eBay, stay off my site. I don't need a bunch of, I mean, basically what I did, one of the things is I basically started discounting a lot of these books because sooner or later someone's going to come around again and just decide, oh, well, this is restricted. We should report it to eBay. You know, like I said, nothing drove me crazier. I mean, this is Frank Frazetta's art. You know, he's a classic. And it's not even bad art. It was just because it was an Eros comic book. Rant over. Freaking over. Cory, what you freaking on?
I'm really not freaking on a whole lot because I had a pretty calm week. The office job is always pushing me for overtime. And because I wasn't at the group home all that much, I took the overtime. And they were very happy. And the group home job, I'm really only working Sunday mornings until after Labor Day, when all the students go back to college.
Woohoo!
And I already bitched about DC. So really, I don't have a lot to complain about except for the Vikings, which I watched their preseason games. And if you're a Vikings fan, this is going to be a long, terrible season for you.
No.
I'm
never,
sorry.
Never watch preseason games because they suck.
Our quarterback sucks and our defense sucks. It's going to be a long slog of a season. And I am glad I am not a fan of a specific team. I watch football differently from everybody you've ever known in your life. I just like the game. I follow the game. And I think it's because I didn't grow up watching football or baseball or basketball or anything like that. But over the last 30 years, I've watched wrestling. And wrestling is, you know, you have your favorites, but your favorite may go to another company. Your favorite may become a bad guy. So instead, I like the company. And with football, it's like, well, what are going to be the most interesting games this week? Those are the ones that I record and watch. I don't watch them when they're happening because, oh my God, 3.5 hours, and that's if there's no overtime. No, if I record it and fast forward through the commercials and the halftime, it's only about an hour and a half. So preseason games have been really interesting too, because there are some teams where they didn't even have their starters in any of the preseason games, and they still just obliterated other teams which had their starters in, and they're trying to pull their team together. So, but yeah, if you're a Vikings fan, it's going to be a long season. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Well, there was a geek show over the weekend. Minnesota Toy Geeks had one of their shows. It was indoors.
I was going to ask how that was.
It was okay. There weren't a lot of comics, which disappointing because usually I leave with a bunch of comics. I run around and since I'm not looking for anything specific, I just, whatever catches my eye. Really only bought 3 things. I got a signature collection Phantom Stranger figure, which is, oh my gosh, gorgeous. Pretty good price at $40, a little higher on the eBays. This, I'm assuming, is one of those mail-away figures you get directly from Mattel. I'm not really hip on that market, so I really don't pay attention to it. And then I picked up 2 Hot Wheel cars, which, oh, here they are. I got a Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie. If you remember, Steamboat Willie is the original cartoon that Mickey was in, I believe, the first talkie, too. And it's just the steamboat with a little Mickey on it. I also found an X-Men Blackbird. They call it the X-Jet. Not quite the Blackbird you and I know, because now what they do is they sweep the wings forward instead of back like the SR-71s used to be. So those are kind of cool. And I got them cheap enough where I can open them. So yeah, that was kind of fun. Some upcoming shows coming on the 18th of September at the same place over by in Roseville, 2101 Larpenteur Avenue, in front of the Cub Foods in the Pavilion. Wealth is doing their collector market again. This is where we talked about it. Well, last episode, wasn't it? The free comic book day, and they basically set up tables and stuff with some people who I don't even know what the polite way to say it. Mentally challenged,
developmentally disabled.
Yeah, and they're awesome people. They had great prices. I bemoaned the fact that last time I was there, I wish I'd have brought more cash just to buy stuff. Well, I got to work that day, but I'll get up and I'll get there at 9:30, barring nuclear rainstorm. And this is their final event of the year because the weather goes bad. And I'm just going to buy whatever I can just to help them and see what other kind of fun things I can find. Then, of course, September 25th is FallCon XL. XL means extra large. And this will be September 25th. That's a Saturday as well, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds Grandstand. $12 if you buy. Well, forget it. By the time this podcast drops, you missed your opportunity. So $15 at the door. Kids 9 and under free. I'm prepping for the con. I've got tons of stuff taken out of my eBay shops. I've got tons of stuff that I have repricing and things I'm donating myself and things that I've had for the MCBA guys that are now, I'll take them out, put them in the shop. I mean, some of the, I got 3 here I'll mention. Like here's a Red Sonja Volume 5, number 13, Virgin variant cover. Here's a Red Sonja Unchained, number 2, one of the high-end Blood Red Ultra Limited Edition books. They only make 25 copies of these. I also have the Red Sonja number 4, Ultra Limited Edition, only 50 copies made. Just a ton of books like that. I mentioned before I'm going to be putting some on just in the time being to try to pre-sell. But other than that, they're going to be at the con, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to catch up with Lisa quickly. We're going to help her get her final stuff together. So we're looking forward to that. And if you come out, come say hi, and I'll be hanging at the table, or I'll be out getting gas. You know how that goes. After that is Twin Cities Con, October 2nd to 3rd at the Minnesota Convention Center, twincitiescon.com. Tons of people there. I've been trying to get a hold of them. They were going to give us some information, but everything seems to be on their website. So check that out. And then as I'm trying to get my internet to work, I had kind of a scare earlier today because my modem finally died. And, it's only been working for 15 years. How dare it die on me?
Yes, how dare you? How dare you?
Dare they? So anyways, Nerding Out's having a con. I'm trying to find it, but all I'm finding is Stan Lee endorsing his beer. So that's pretty funny. But Nerding Out Con, come on, boys, don't let me out. Well, it's happening. We'll talk more about it in the future. I just don't want to hold it up. I don't know if any of you, I talk occasionally about games I play online. My latest game that I'm having fun with is Harry Potter Puzzles and small screen. I can't read the S. Puzzles and Spells. It's kind of a berserker game where bedazzled game. I'm sorry, where you just match the things up, and if you solve the puzzle, you move forward. It's really kind of a curious game because, as everybody else, you can buy power-ups and things like that. But I don't recommend doing it on this game. I just recommend keep hammering away at the puzzle because sooner or later, you're going to have the chance combination of spells and power-ups and things that'll clear the board and get you onto the next puzzle. The few times where I'm like, oh, geez, I only got like 2 things left. Oh, I'll buy a power-up. And then you get the power-up and it's placed on the board somewhere where it doesn't do any good. I'm like, well, that was an utter waste of money. So I'm just having fun doing it. I'm always interested in what people are playing online because the last couple games I've played kind of died. I bitched about them in past. So go dig them up. I don't feel like revisiting it. Other than that, I got weekend plans for the holiday. My wife and I are going to take a quick jaunt up north. We actually lucked out, found a spot available, and we're just going to tour the coast. We're going up early enough, so I should be able to visit the comic stores because usually first of all, they're usually closed on Sunday. Definitely closed on Monday because that'll be Labor Day. We're just going to have a couple days away. When I get back, I imagine we'll podcast on the following Tuesday, and I'll tell you all about it. So other than that, I did take a stop at the source today. I had to pick up a preview since my stuff from Discount Comic Service is going to be delayed. But I picked up a bunch of stuff. They get in the back of the store, they got a bunch of random oddity books bagged together. I picked up stuff I've never heard of. I figured for $1, I'll give it a shot. And I will imagine, if I'm correct, Cory, it's about we're about due for a review episode, like we thought we were going to do this week, but we actually banged out a previews episode before the previews catalog is due at retailers. So I'm pretty happy about that.
For me, I actually had the weekend for just relaxing and reading comics and watching some TV. TV-wise, if you are on Amazon, there is a sitcom called Corner Gas. It's available on Amazon. Because it's on the IMDb TV, you will have to put up with some ads. But it is a Canadian sitcom set in a small town at their gas station. I'm about 4 episodes in. Characters are very broadly drawn. It's really funny stuff, and it looks like it was really successful. It went for, I think, 5 or 6 seasons, and then there was an animated series that followed up, and then a movie. So looks like there's a lot of stuff to watch on it, but I really like it. It's kind of an updated version of Andy Griffith in that our lead character is kind of the one sane person in town. Everybody else, his dad is really angry and hates all the new things. A woman moved to town who is trying to update the coffee shop, and the city folk don't much care for the fact that she's bringing in stuff like different flavored coffees. So it's that sort of thing. And I know a lot of people really loved the show King of the Hill. And whenever I watched it, I would be, where are the jokes? None of this is funny. This is just the people I grew up with. Whereas corner guest, there are jokes. I find it funny. It's not making fun of these people. It's just showing them. So if you're from a small town, you'll really like it. If you're not from a small town, watch it and you'll understand what us small town people are like. We're weird and quirky. Comic-wise, boy, did I have a lot of time for reading me some funny books. Let's see here. I read Six Guns, which is a trade paperback Marvel put out in the mid-90s by Andy Diggle, and it's drawn by, it's an Italian name. I always have trouble with Italian names. Where's your sister, Joe? She could, David Gianfelici. And it is not a Western, but it uses characters like the Western characters in a modern setting. So you've got a new two-gun kid, Tarantula, Tex Dawson, Black Rider, Matt Slade, updated to the modern era. They never did anything with it afterward, which is a shame. The art is just beautiful, really complex, really filled with light and shadow. Doesn't look like an American comic, which is probably why it didn't sell well, but I really enjoyed this story. Andy Diggle's most known for his time as the editor on 2000 AD, and just a really good action story. I have the Captain America Omnibus by Dan Jurgens. These are stories I never read, so I'm about 4 issues in. And it's drawn by Andy Kubert, which is probably why I didn't pick it up back in the 90s, because at the time I did not care for his art. I still don't like the art style, but it doesn't grate on me as much as it used to. And I wanted to see Dan Jurgens playing in the Marvel Universe, so we get a lot of Dan Jurgens playing in the Marvel Universe. I also got in my box day Godzilla, A Natural Disasters, which is an omnibus of a bunch of different Godzilla series, including Godzilla Legends, Godzilla in Hell, and Godzilla Rage Across Time. I read the Godzilla Legends. Each issue of that was about a different kaiju, kind of giving a highlight of what they were like. And it really felt like it was building up to something, and I don't know if it ever coalesced into something, because the next story is the Godzilla in Hell, which is not connected to it at all. I also am reading through the trade paperbacks I have of Savage Avengers, which I did not realize is one continuous story. It is the characters are kind of drawn together because Kulan Goth, who was a sorcerer back in Conan's day and was also the villain in the worst X-Men story ever, X-Men 191 and 192, where
I disagree. I love that. I thought that was a brilliant story. Although
I hated it.
They never really continued with, hey, Captain America was one of the few humans that remember it. I'll never forget it. Well, you might as well.
Well, Doctor Strange remembers it because he brings it up in this story. But I'm now up to the 4th trade paperback, and they're still fighting Kulan Goth. It's a really fun series. Conan is used very well in it. And Conan's interactions with Doctor Strange are perfect. I could read Conan and Doctor Strange arguing with each other for 100 issues and never get tired of it. It is just fantastic stuff. I also hold in my hand here a book, The Best of Archie, 80 Years, 80 Stories. It is digest size. It is over 700 pages, and it has one story from each year that Archie has been around, including the new look Archie. It has, the first story in it is one that Joe reviewed last week, by the way.
Ooh,
Crisis on Riverdale Earths. And it's got the Mark Waid stuff. Sadly, it does not have the new look stories from the mid-2000s, where they kind of brought in some of the Marvel people to do serious Archie stories that were done in kind of a different style. Those were drawn by Ron Frenz and Norm Breyfogle and stuff. I loved those. I bought all of those digests, and it must not have worked because, boy, they've just kind of walked away from those and we don't hear about them anymore. But it's a fun digest going all the way back to the most reprinted Archie story of all, which is the first Archie story, which really isn't very good. But I do like that they group it in groups of 5 years, and it kind of goes into a little detail about who the artists were, what was going on behind the scenes, how they would update Archie for things like that. And then the last thing I have that I've been reading is a novel. Actually, it's 10 novels. The Great Book of Amber by Roger Zelazny. This is a massive fantasy series. And I read it back in high school when it was only 5 books. It eventually got to 10, and they are all reprinted in one big book called The Great Book of Amber. And it's only $25. 10 novels for $25. I remember really loving this as a teenager. I have started reading it, and it holds up really well. Roger Zelazny was a great writer. His science fiction is some of my favorite, but his fantasy, boy, this is some fun stuff. And it's another one of those where I'm kind of surprised no one has adapted it into comics. Sword and Sorcery comics, we're starting to get a few of them here and there from Image. But I really wish that they would do adaptations of some of these great fantasy novels. I still remember, Joe, do you remember when Eclipse did the adaptation of The Hobbit?
Oh, yeah.
Why isn't that selling anywhere? I'm sure the rights reverted to the Tolkien people. Why haven't they reprinted that? Because it was beautiful, just beautiful. And that's a book that I'm sure you put it on a, you put it out, people would put it on their bookshelf next to their other Tolkien stuff. And there was never a comic adaptation of Lord of the Rings.
No.
I don't get it. Don't get it. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for 2 hours.
Woohoo!
And as we say every week, oh, I forgot.
Uh-oh.
By the time this podcast comes out, I will have seen Shang-Chi, which is pronounced differently than we have always pronounced it our whole lives. We pronounced it Shang-Chi, but no, it's Shang-Chi. That will be the Marvel movie that comes out, and it's not going to be available on Disney Plus because they got sued over the last time they did that. So we don't want to get sued. So I may brave the theater to go see that because Shang-Chi was one of my favorite characters in the 70s, and they have revamped him. It looks like they've made him kind of more superhero-ish, which is a good idea for the movies, but I'm looking forward to that movie as well. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for 2 hours.
Cool.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
I do have a spoiler for the upcoming movie, though.
Oh?
I did find out who the villain is.
Well, it's not Fu Manchu. We know that.
I don't know that. It's a villain called the Autocorrector. Can you imagine it? Are you serious? What's your super powdered? Wait a minute. What the help is happening, ninja, to me? Please, make a ducking stop. That's what I live for. Cory, I feel like dancing. Hit my music.